right. All right, everybody, before we let the beat drop, I just want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Late Afternoon Show. It's your boy, Tim, Mr. Meaningful Work, Olaore, and we are here live and in person. We're going to give you guys some time to get started. Let's go. I need space. I need space. Let your friends know that we're live. Tag them in the comments. Do a little airplane emoji. Let them know that we are live with Rick and Mark today. The only way that we know that you're here with us is if you are commenting and letting us know your city, your state, your hemisphere, where you're joining from. If this is your first time to the Late Afternoon Show, let us know with a 1. If you're coming back for multiple times, let us know with how many times you've been on the Late Afternoon Show. We want to see our meaningful work community and how they are growing. Let us party. Let's go. Hey, welcome. Let's go. All about good vibrations.
Sitting on the edge of the pool, hanging with the rest of your crew, flashing those big brown eyes at me.
I'm going to put it in the comments here.
As I was walking by,
tag them in.
Was by.
Tag them in.
Opportunity. Oh, yeah. Electric magnetism in the air.
If you're on YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn, let us know.
I'm buzzing like guitars and rock and roll.
There we go.
You give me those good
vibrations.
Baby, you and me on the same frequency.
Okay. We're about to get into it. I'm excited today. It's good to be live. It's good to be in person. What's up, Megan? Welcome to the live, girl. Thank you for tagging Holly.
Vibrations.
All right, I'm not going to be a bad DJ today. We're not going to play the whole song. We're going to end it before it ends. But we're going to give everybody about 30 more seconds to join the Late Afternoon Show.
You asked me about my zodiac sign.
Hey. Memphis in the house. Let's go. Tennessee. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Electric magnetism in the air.
Why am I so hype on a Tuesday? You're about to see in a couple minutes. Why? They're sitting over there just looking at me right now. You guys can't see them off stage, but they're looking at me like, what is going on? Vibrations.
Baby, you and me
on the same frequency. All right, guys. We're about to land this plane. I'm not to make you mine. All right. Like they did in the 80s and the 90s when they found out that all you got to do is lower the volume and you could end the song. That is what we're doing today. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Late Afternoon Show. It is Tim, and I am so excited to be here. As you can see, I am not in the shed. This is not the normal late afternoon shed that you see me in. We are actually live at Haney Biz right here in Rockland, California, the home of Growth Factory, the place where my friends Mark and Rick are doing some crazy, impactful work here in the Sacramento area, right here in our backyard. We are so excited to join them today. I had to turn the camera so we can have a little bit of an element of surprise. What we're going to do is we're going to bring on our stage audience, our studio audience, to welcome them to the stage. So I want you guys in the comments to do your love emojis, to do your hand clap emojis, and give us a warm digital welcome to none other than Mark Haney and Rick Spencer. Oh, there they are. Stop it. Calm down. Oh, we got him trained well. They stopped like right on cue. Right on cue. Well, you can see our setup is very interesting here. So we're gonna make it work here today. But Rick and Mark, welcome to the late afternoon show. Thank you so much for joining us. We got some folks that are here live. We got Megan, Sacramento. I just got jobs to recruit there. There we go. She's recruiting out to Sacramento. There you go. More people coming through. But in lieu of a bio, folks can go and check out growthfactory.us, right? Growthfactory.us. If you want to see the dream team, that's what you guys call it, the dream team, go and check them out. But we're going to ask them right now, how would you describe what you're famous for? We can start, Mark, let's start with you. What are you famous for, man?
Yeah, we're here in my podcast studio, and so I am known for having an entrepreneurial podcast. It's called The Mark Haney Show. I've been on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution right here in the hometown we love, and I get accused of having a ton of energy, but you have kicked my ass, young man.
Let's go. I always thought it was going to be weird interviewing somebody in their own studio. How does it feel being interviewed in your own studio?
I love it. Yeah. There's nothing I love more than talking about myself.
Yeah.
What is it? A Tuesday night.
On a Tuesday night. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's so funny. As I was doing some research on Mark and the podcast that he's done, some of the businesses that he worked with, can you imagine the last episode that he did was meaningful innovation? Like, how opportune is that? Meaningful innovation. You guys go check out Haney Biz, the Mark Haney Show, to see how he is igniting what?
The entrepreneurial revolution. Right here in Sacramento, right here in the hometown of love.
Let's go. The hometown of love?
Hometown I love.
Oh, hometown. I was like,
we have love here in Sacramento.
Absolutely. Well, we also got Rick. Rick, tell us what you're famous for, man.
Yeah, I can't bring the energy with these guys, but I'm glad to be here. And we're here in the Marquee Media Studio, the home of the Mark Haney Show. And let me tell you, Tim, thanks for bringing the vibe, because I don't think this studio has seen that much vibe in a long time.
It has been a while.
Yeah, hey,
it's been a while.
Yeah, we like to just add some hot sauce, add some vibe, have some coolness. But you guys have been doing awesome. So what are you famous for, man?
Yeah, so solving problems. So I won't go back, to my complete bio, like you said, but originally I wanted to be an FBI profiler, so I was studying that in college. I wanted to solve really hard problems, and then I stumbled into entrepreneurship, literally walking down my college main street.
Right.
Went to an open interview, stumbled into the first startup, didn't even know how to spell entrepreneur.
Wow. And I still don't. Who knows how to spell entrepreneur?
It's tough
I just
work.
let Siri autocorrect me.
Yeah. So then took off from there, and then grew a business where I was able to consult with the Fortune 500, 20% of them, and help them solve problems. And I just fell in love with these really hard, difficult, sticky problems and the challenge, that it creates and the opportunity it creates. So that's what I'm famous for.
So when people are running away from problems, where's this guy running to?
Right
into the fire. He runs into the fire.
Right into the fire, and then as things are blowing up, he walks away slow motion, not even looking back, just like the superhero he is, man.
There you go.
Well, Rick, thank you so much. Mark, thank you so much. And it's a weird way that we met, right? I love telling the story because I've been hustling on this meaningful work thing for just about 2 years. And okay, go ahead, go on Facebook. Yeah, go to Facebook and you can check us out there. But I've been working on this meaningful work, just putting out content on what my experience with meaningful work is, and just reflecting, and then starting talking to folks about what their experience with meaningful work has been. And so it's been a grind for the last couple of years, building a brand while still maintaining a full-time job. But I was in a coffee shop across the street from my job, my regular full-time job at Adventist Health, and I think we still had masks on at that time. Was it so?
No, there were no masks.
There were no masks?
Yeah, I can tell the story.
You tell. How did we meet? There we go. Tell the story.
Yeah, so I connected with Tim on LinkedIn because we were building out kind of our innovation network, and when I work at Adventist, I connected with you. And then, you show up with this energy, and I see your LinkedIn post. I didn't think you're at Adventist anymore because you're doing meaningful work. You're dancing. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
This guy has amazing energy. And Marcus and I were at the coffee shop meeting with some potential investors, and he walked across to him. I'm like, Tim, I know this guy. You know, in the COVID hybrid virtual world, you see people and you're like, I swear I know that person.
Yeah.
But you never know. And I thought
You've seen him in this
I
like.
said, no, I know that guy. His name is Tim. And so I said, Tim. And he stopped and we connected, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. The rest is history.
But
And
Tim, it's because you show up, the energy that you put out there, and the influence that, you know, I know you're just getting started, but it made me know that I should stop and meet you in person. Because you could see people and walk by and say, I think I know them, but I'm not going to stop. It's not worth it. I said, this is a guy that if this is my opportunity to connect with this guy, I should do it.
oh man, I appreciate that. You guys can't tell, but I'm blushing. There's a little bit of blush happening over here, but I really appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for connecting. I mean, that is one of my personal values, is relationships and connecting with folks and being able to not only spark relationships, but nurture them as you're going through. And what I love about LinkedIn and social media, that it makes it a little easier to connect with different folks, but you still have to do the work of nurturing, of engaging. You could have said, yeah, I know him, we're connected on LinkedIn, but to take it that next step further and nurture that is huge. And you guys know all about relationships, nurturing them, and having impact, specifically in the entrepreneurial space. So he told us a little bit about how he stumbled into entrepreneurship. Talk to us a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey, man.
I started off in video stores. Some of you may remember video stores.
Video stores?
Yeah, video rental.
You got to talk about the first company you
I
sold.
was a newspaper route, newspaper carrier. I sold my paper route. That was my first entrepreneurial.
There we go.
We had video stores, then security cameras. We were then ended up being the largest security camera distribution company in the country.
Wow.
Now I'm an investor, so I own or am invested into 50 plus companies here in the Sacramento region.
Wow. So what does that mean, being able to have 50 companies? I mean, are you talking to 50 different CEOs every day? What's the day-to-day like for that?
Yeah, day-to-day is get up, go to CrossFit or yoga, and then roll in. I leave the house at 0 dark 30, and give my wife a hug, tell her everything's going to be okay.
Yeah,
I love her, and then that kind of sets the tone for the day. And then throughout the day, it's a variety of things. We have brought on investors to support our newest venture, the Growth Factory.
Right.
And so the Growth Factory is invested into like 15 companies locally.
Yeah.
So right now I'm sort of focused on this boot camp accelerator called the Growth Factory for the most part during the day. And then my existing personal investments kind of happen sporadically throughout the day.
Yeah. So would you say that you've been an entrepreneur your entire career?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think entrepreneurship is kind of a mindset for people. It's because I don't think you could be working at in a large company,
right,
even at Advantage, and you could be intrapreneurial. So I think a lot of it's just how we think of ourselves. Are you the type of person that wants to outwork everybody, figure things out, create something that doesn't exist today, maybe change the world? If you have those kind of tendencies, you might be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's in there. It's not necessarily a job per se, but it's the way you think. I mean, you were talking about running towards problems. I feel like the good ones, right? The good entrepreneurs are the ones that embrace problems.
The good entrepreneurs, you show them a problem, they see an opportunity.
Yeah.
If you're not an entrepreneur, that's the first test. You just see challenges, and you see headache, and you see effort, and you see energy.
Yeah.
And you say, that's not for me. But a great entrepreneur, show them a problem, they see an opportunity.
I would add to that too, Rick. The great entrepreneurs, when I see you open the show, there's some creativity, tons of energy. It's different. Yeah. A successful entrepreneur needs to do something a lot different so they get themselves noticed. Yeah. So that they can, in many cases, create a following like what you're doing. But the other thing that I think makes entrepreneurs unique is they're willing to take risk. And without risk, it isn't really entrepreneurship.
Yeah. You got to find that risk. What kind of risks do you? I mean, if you look at the company, we'll talk a little bit about Growth Factory specifically, which is how we connect.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about I stumbled into that first entrepreneurial journey. So that was in college. I was actually working while I was in college, but then I went off and got a corporate job. Right. Okay. And so I was in a comfortable corporate job. I won at 22, the President's Award, youngest ever to win this award for
Nice.
Scripps Media.
Nice.
And at 25, I was being offered a director position for a 400-person business unit. And so most people say, wow, that's success, right? Like you've got a comfortable corporate job,
Yep.
you're climbing the corporate ladder, you're winning awards,
Yeah.
like you've arrived.
Yeah.
And then I met this entrepreneur, he had an idea, we clicked, and I had this decision. I just got married.
Yeah.
So I was 24, just got married, and I had to go home to my wife and say, look, I've got a choice. I've got a fork in the road. I can
Yeah.
go on the corporate ladder and keep, pursuing this. It's comfortable, it's
Yeah.
predictable. Or I can join with this new business partner.
Risky.
And I may lose everything.
Yeah.
And I may not get paid. I don't know what the future looks like. There is no, we're gonna figure it out and have to build it.
Yeah.
And guess what I chose?
Yeah. We see.
Yeah.
You jumped in.
And there were plenty of, dark times.
Yeah.
I recruited my wife to be the CTO of our company.
Let's
And
go.
I tell people the story of, we have one daughter, my child, and she was 6 months old. So infant at the house, recruited my wife to work with the company.
Man.
And because we had been we're growing organically, investing into R&D, I had to go home and say, both of us aren't getting a paycheck for at least a month, if not longer.
Man.
And so here's, a new mom, my business partner, a spouse, and that was a pretty difficult conversation, but we stay focused, stay dedicated, and the reward was on the other side. And so, entrepreneurs all have that near-death experience that Mark talks about, and they also have those breakthrough moments. And so that's really what separates them.
And it makes it that much more sweet, right? Like if you haven't gone through those near-death experiences or having to like experience struggle or suffering, if you're in a comfortable kind of plush situation, it's not as sweet as almost being at the bottom or being at the very bottom and then seeing what glory or success is, on the other side. And that's like the motivation you need to, all right, second win, boom, let's go and solve more problems or, be more creative and things like that. And so guys, let grit, absolutely. That word grit is one of like, right?
Great. Yeah. That's not only is that necessary in entrepreneurship, it's probably necessary in life.
In life. Yeah. Yeah. You got to have that grit. So folks, if you have any questions, I'm checking the chat. So if you have questions for Mark or for Rick, please type them in the chat. I'll grab them. Audience question already. So what is your definition of success? Both of you, each of you, what would be your definition of success? Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, I like to think of success as being at your very best, trying to find your potential. Nobody's going to reach their full potential, but I think the closer we get to reaching our own potential is really the closer we are to success.
Yeah. So first starts with figuring out what you're excited about, what you feel your potential is, and then moving towards that. And that would be.
I think so. Well, I think for me, when I'm coaching entrepreneurs, I like to have them start with thinking about what their big dream is.
Mm-hmm.
And
the big dream.
The big dream. What I notice is that most people sell that big dream a little short. They create the big dream, and it's not really that big. And I think people are a little afraid to dream big because what if I don't make it? What if I don't get there?
Yeah.
And to me, if you don't create a big dream, well, you for sure won't get there.
Yeah.
So it starts with creating a big dream.
Don't play it too safe. Yeah. What about you? How would you define success?
Yeah, my personal definition is, leaving this world better than I found it.
Okay.
And Mark talks about entrepreneurs being the answer, and that's what I believe. There's, really hard generational problems that we're facing, even before COVID.
Yeah.
And these problems entrepreneurs can solve.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the ones that have the courage, the grit, the dream.
Yeah.
To do the crazy stuff that's going to solve these hard problems. And so, before, as I was, an entrepreneur just working on one business, that was my dream, is like, how do I leave this world a better place than I found it?
Yeah.
And now it's inspiring other entrepreneurs to solve these big problems so that collectively we can make the world a better place.
I love it. So I got a question. So you've been involved with or currently involved with over 50 companies. You've done a lot of work with Fortune 500 organizations, startups. So, you know, it's probably not a stretch to say that maybe not all, but you've seen it a lot. You've seen a lot of, you know, companies at different stages of growth. You've seen a lot of folks, you know, experiencing success and experiencing downfall. How do you keep it exciting, right? After seeing so much, after being in the business for so long, after consulting, coaching, and maybe starting to see patterns, right? You're starting to see patterns of how folks work and operate. How do you keep it exciting for yourself so you don't get bored of the same thing, you know, in different spaces or in different organizations? How do you keep it exciting?
You know, one of the things that we do is we invest into local companies, so local founders. And then we get the opportunity to live vicariously through their ups and downs. And we invest into people with extreme commitment, complete authenticity, super humble people. And we go work with those people. And those characteristics, that commitment, that drive, it's infectious, right? And when you're around really ambitious people, and we're around the most ambitious people in the Sacramento region, and helping them, and that's infectious.
So just being around, just by association and living through their experiences.
You're also trying to help them solve the world's biggest problems. As Rick mentioned, we're solving problems in cybersecurity, in healthcare, in other areas that it's very challenging work, but it's rewarding when you have these breakthrough moments.
Yeah, I love it. What about you? How do you keep it exciting? Keep it fresh?
Yeah, I mean, we're, you know, even though we have all this experience you mentioned, we treat ourselves like a startup, right? You know, the Growth Factory, you know, isn't even a year old. Like, we haven't even had our year anniversary. We've been working on it and iterating on some of the concepts for about 2 years now. But first we had to test. We had to say, hey, you know, we think that part of our accelerator program is called Founder to CEO. We identified, we were seeing a lot of first-time founders, and they're really passionate and they're laser focused on this problem. But they've never led a business, let alone maybe even a business team. And so we said, hey, we have this hypothesis, but we need to test this, right? We can't just build the whole product and think that we're just going to sell it. We need to test it to see how close we are to our hypothesis. So we did that, right? And that's what we continue to do is, you know, we have cohort 1, the first 15 companies that went through the Growth Factory, and they're kind of midway between in their 12-month journey. Now we're getting ready for cohort 2, and we're learning each cohort, right? It's like, what did we learn? We learned this, this, and this. So you know, we don't have to manufacture excitement, because there's always an opportunity to get better. There's always an opportunity to be better. And so, you know, I think we go home every day and say, how do we get better than yesterday?
Absolutely. I love the parallels. So I do leadership residency program at Adventist Health, and we also have cohorts. So we started our first cohort in 2020 with 6 residents that came in, and it's similar things. Ours is a 2-year program where folks kind of come in, learn different parts of the business, and be part of our leadership pipeline. And, you know, so that development focus, teaching them what folks call soft skills, but these skills aren't soft, right? As far as like communication, you know, conflict management, you know, stakeholder management, and all these different things that are critical to a leader's success, right? It's a team building. How do you build effective teams that work well together? So to see that, and then for me, I've been doing it since 2020. You're exactly right. The experiences that you get through their eyes, right? Them being able to see growth, them able to see change from, you know, one of our residents was initially very insular, like just very analytical, like very good, but it's very kind of in his own element. And one of the things that he talked about was like, yeah, I want to be able to learn how to build relationships. I want to be able to connect with folks. And now, I mean, this guy has probably one of the biggest networks within the leadership residents, as far as like just making intentional connections where like the market leaders like can't do without him. And just to be able to see that growth, then for himself to be able to see that growth, like that's what keeps it exciting. And every year we try to change it up and say, okay, how do we format the learning styles, the learning structures, the leadership development, and things like that. So kudos to them. I mean, that's just a perfect affirmation of that particular how to make it exciting. So another question that we have here is, what are 3 key characteristics of your leaders in a venture invested organization, or 3 keys for grassroots leaders in those organizations. Let me ask that again. What are 3 key characteristics of your leaders in VC invested organizations, and 3 key for grassroots leaders in those organizations?
Well, I think one thing I would say as an overarching statement, nobody builds a truly great company alone, right? If you put the right people in your life, you can build a tremendous anything you want.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 questions that the best get right. They tend to get closer to right. Number 1, what's the dream? And typically, as I said, it's not quite big enough, right? Because if you're going to build a great company, if you don't have a big dream, who's going to come get on the team with you, right? Nobody builds a truly great company alone. If the dream ain't big, who's going to get in the car with you and help you go?
Inspirational, And
the second question I think we have to get right is, what am I going to do with what I got? What am I good at? What strengths do I have? What are my weaknesses? What are my assets? What's my reputation? And how can I leverage that? How can I make decisions around leveraging what I got in order to get people moving in the right direction? Because people, again, they're not going to join your team or stay with the team if you're not making good decisions around what am I going to do with what I got? I got Rick, I got Tim, I've got a little bit of, I get this podcast studio. What am I going to do with this? And I think the third thing that I think we got to get right is, what's our commitment level? I think we got to ask ourselves, what is my commitment level? And you got to get that right, because realistically, people are not going to follow you if you've got a half-assed commitment. And that's, you got to demonstrate that commitment. And I think if it's demonstrated in a way like you demonstrate at the opening of the show, people are attracted to that. Nobody builds a truly great company alone, but they are attracted to Tim when he's doing his thing.
You got me fired up just listening to you. I love that. Anything that you would add?
Yeah, I would echo everything that Mark said. I think, you started with a little bit of the connection piece, right? Nobody builds a truly great company alone, so you need to learn how to connect with people. Because you can have the biggest, best dream in the world, but if you can't connect with other people and build a team, you're going to be alone, right? You have to be able to challenge yourself and your team. So a lot of people, not only do they run away from problems, but there's going to be tension, right? You can either lean into that tension and let that tension get you to that breakthrough moment, or you could shy away and say, "Oh, this seems hard. We must be going in the wrong direction." Right? So no difficult path, leads to a great destination, right? Or easy path. And then I think last thing is celebration. You have to think about those small wins. You have to think about how you celebrate, because it's a long journey. Right? It is not a marathon or a sprint. It's a journey, right? And so you have to think about, hey, one of my favorite quotes that I share with Mark and the team is from Napoleon. And it says, in victory, champagne's deserved. In defeat, it's necessary. Right? So you can walk away with lessons learned. You can get better, and you have to be able to keep that team together and celebrate that. Not just wait to get to the Super Bowl championship and celebrate, but think about how you celebrate.
I got affirmation of that today as I'm trying to build a course, taking all the things I've learned from the 2 years that we've been studying meaningful work, talking to a lot of different leaders, and create a course that helps organizations retain, right? So how do you have a team that's motivated to stay? So we've been building it. We have like a landing page, and this is my first time jumping into something like this. And so I was talking to my coach, and she was asking, how many subscribers have you been able to get? And admittedly, that point of commitment resonated, because it's like, I got this podcast, I got this full-time job, and now I'm trying to do this course. And so it's been like sprinkles of effort and intention. And so I was embarrassed. I was like we got like 5 subscribers. She was like, there's people that have 0. Celebrate that. That's a milestone. Now know that know what you have to do to turn it up, to get it going. And I was like, well, it isn't so bad, but we definitely need to do better. But if I would have missed that opportunity to celebrate and move forward. So, but I do want to ask you this though, because we talked a little bit about a number of entrepreneurial or startup starts and stops. And the thing that we constantly ran up against in the 2 or 3 that I tried was funding, right? Getting the money. It's like, we have the idea. We think the idea is amazing. The dream is big. You know, we have two people that are passionate, but when it comes to just getting the funding, whether it's through Angel or friends and family, like it was just that point. What advice would you give to folks that are in similar situations that have big ideas, they feel like they have a pretty good team, and they feel like the next step is we need some money infused so we can go and do these things? What advice would you give to folks like that?
The first thing that comes to mind is somebody that's at those very early stages where they're making those first attempts at raising money. Is start conversations. I think that a lot of times people are shy about sharing their ideas, but I think you just have to put it out there. And if you begin to do that, you get more comfortable with that. And you know what? If you show up, if you put yourself around the right people, if you put the right people in your life and you're sharing those stories or your feelings with the right commitment, it will be attractive. But put yourself around the right people and start beginning to talk about it.
Just have lots of conversations.
You got to share that dream and be passionate. You know, have people attracted to you, and then we share a saying around here. You know, you ask for money, you get advice. You ask for advice, you get money. And so to Mark's point, not just going and saying, "Hey, I'm raising money. Can you write me a check?" But I'll give you a good example. That one of the startups I was working on when I met Mark was called Protex. It's a sensor company for athletes. And I was literally just walking down the street in my neighborhood to the mailbox. I knew my neighbor worked for a healthcare company, Sutter Health. And so I could have just said, "Hey, Rob, how's it going? How's the daughter? Let's get together and play tennis." Just kept it casual. I said, "Oh, you're at Sutter Health. I'd love to get your advice on something." That led to not only advice, but our lead investor, because he said, "Hey, I know this doctor and this doctor is working in that space. And I think that they just have an investor." And so, within 2 weeks, I had recruited a medical director and a lead investor.
Wow.
But I had to put myself
Y'all
out there.
Hear these gems, yo? Wow.
Put it out there and say, "I know this guy's in healthcare, but not, hey, I'm raising money. Can you help me find money?"
Yes.
Because I understand your expertise, being respectful, and say, "Can you share some advice with me?" And starting that conversation.
Oh my goodness. These are gems, okay? These are gems that are being dropped. He just talked about, having conversations, and then he just extended it by saying, like, have those conversations be questions and advice. At Adventist Health, one of our values, so we have these B statements, our values, and one of them is be curious. And just, always be inquisitive, always be seeking to learn more. But what you find is that people want to help, right? People want to feel that they are adding value to somebody else. It's an evidence. One of the things that we've learned in meaningful work is that people want to see evidence of their significance, right? And when they can answer a question, when they can point you in the right direction, when they can connect you with somebody else, that's a vision, like a representation of seeing the evidence of their significance, and it does something for them. So when you're asking this guy for advice, it does something for him to show that, like, hey, he just added value. Let me add more fiscal value, right, to this situation. Ooh, I love that. That just gave me goosebumps, man. You guys are onto it. So a couple more things, and then we're going to wrap up here and we have these questions. Thank you so much for all your questions. We're going to come back in and make sure that we can answer them in the chat. Is two more things. One more question, and then our meaningful work question. What is, for folks, as we're talking about advice, and you guys have coached a lot of organizations, you're coaching organizations now in the Growth Factory. What is the worst advice that you've ever received?
The worst advice I've ever received. Rick, why don't you start off on that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I know I've gotten some bad advice, so I'm trying to think of
or maybe something that's in the top 5. And that would be the absolute worst.
One of the things that I think we have to look at is when people give you advice, you just have to think about where it's coming from. I think we can learn. I played football, through high school and baseball. I had some coaches that were assholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all did.
Call a spade a spade. Yeah.
But I learned from them.
Yeah.
Right. So their advice, I may not have wanted to take it at that moment.
Yeah.
I may have thought that they weren't the best for me at that moment.
Yeah.
But you know what? I learned something from them, and so I think really when we're taking advice or we're getting some coaching, even if we're getting it in a way that might be very difficult to hear, we may disagree with it.
Yeah.
I think we have to stay open-minded to that at some point, even if it's not at that moment. We take it in and just be you, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is just be you.
Yeah.
So despite what that coach might have been, despite what that advice might have been, take it in, open-minded, but just be you.
Just be you. I like that.
Yeah, I think, you talked about being curious. And so we work with a lot of founders who are building pitch decks, and they'll easily get fatigued because you can pitch to 100 different people and you're going to get 100 different opinions.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone's going to have this idea or this comment or that.
Yeah.
And I'm very analytical. It's like, look, that's just a data point. Right? It's not, you don't flip your whole world upside down because that one person, gave you this opinion that, you don't agree with, right? It's just a data point. And if you think that it's a data point you should explore, be curious and go try to validate that data point.
Yeah.
It's just the start of explanation. But
Yeah.
if it's one data point that you can't quickly validate, well, then it's one opinion and, everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is, stay curious and, don't take it personal, right?
Yeah.
It's just data.
Yeah. One of the worst advices that I've received was wait until it's perfect. You're already shaking your head. Wait until it's perfect. And I have seen in real life, real time that, and I'm sometimes haunted by that, right? It's like, it has to be good. I have to feel really good about it so I can put out the best work. But no, it's all about iteration. It's all about testing. It's all about, get it out there, get the feedback, get the data points, and pivot and, get something out. Yeah.
Yes, it's progress over perfection. I mean, your customers are going to validate it, right? So,
what's up, Michael?
Perfection is subjective. And so if your customers are buying, if your customers are signing up, if you're seeing that traction, it's, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So you need to get that customer validation.
Yeah. Customer validation. I love it.
And that's, both, as an entrepreneur, you're selling to consumers, you're selling to businesses, but
as an employee,
in Ventus, I'm sure you guys talk about internal customers.
100%. 100%. Thank you so much for bringing that point. Yeah. Internal customers, making sure that, the conversations that you're having with your employees, that you're having with your leaders, that you're having with, even if it's the end user, the patients and things like that, that it is, that you're learning from it and you're growing from it. And you have that transparency, that inclusion, like, hey, we want your feedback. We're learning from that feedback and going as based on that. So the last question here, we'll wrap up, is, we've been talking about, at least I've been studying meaningful work for the last couple of years, and getting various applications, right? So whether it's in entrepreneurship, whether it's in, employee in an organization, and gotten some really, really great definitions. But I always like to ask the leaders that I talk to, how would you define meaningful work based on your own experience?
Well, for me, I think if you're doing something you love, if you immerse yourself in something you love, you can call it work if you want, but you really never work a day in your life if you're immersing yourself in what you love. After selling my companies in 2010, I decided I was going to write I didn't know what I was going to do afterwards, right? So I wrote a mission statement. I think for your audience, one thing that when you think about deciding what meaningful work means to you, I started with, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? I put it all against a dry erase board, and I crafted it into a mission statement around creating an opportunity for my family, my friends, and our community. And as they succeed, I succeed. That's meaningful to me. And I have that mission tattooed on my soul.
Wow.
I'm just a disciple.
So meaningful work is a similar.
Yeah. When I first met Mark, I had some early success, and I was thinking about my legacy, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew that, okay, I already felt successful.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't chasing meaningful work per se, but
Yeah.
most people are chasing success.
Yeah.
And so I, luckily, early in my career, had felt success, and I said, what's next, right? Like, because, this is not the end of the journey.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about legacy, like, what does the future look like for my daughter? And meeting Mark and hearing this personal mission statement about creating opportunity for others, I said, that's it. And that's, when I kind of joined the team with Mark, was he not only had that personal mission statement, but he shared the vision. He said, this is what I want to do. I want to create opportunities for others. And I want to have 100 millionaire business partners in my backyard that all love one another. And I heard this early on, and it was sounded romantic.
Yeah.
I couldn't connect with it right away. But he had a party called the Best of the Best, where he brought up his business partners, and he recognized and he celebrated them. He said, I wouldn't be here without these people. And who does that, right? Like, who says, I'm just going to celebrate the people that created opportunity for me and are creating opportunity for others. And so, that's where it was the Kool-Aid moment. I said, hey, Mark, how can I help you? Yeah. And the rest is history.
Sign me up. I'm reading a book right now. And I think I was talking to a friend, and they said they read it back in grade school. It's called Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. And I reference that because in all of the conversations that I've had around this particular topic, one of the main threads that I'm seeing is that meaning is tied to service to others, right? As Viktor Frankl was talking about his experience in Auschwitz, that the people that were able to survive connected their existence to someone that they felt may be waiting for them on the other side, right? That they are living because their daughter or their wife or their friend, or maybe a work of art that they were working on that would benefit. I mean, he had a book that he was trying, a manuscript that he was trying to write and finish that would benefit the world, and it needed to be finished. But that meaning, significance, purpose is, for the most part, tied to service to others. So to hear that, your mission statement, your soul tattoo, and your mission statement of leaving a legacy and creating opportunities for others is right in line with what we have seen, folks. And then if you call it work, right? If it's a task that you come in the morning at the end of the day, so be it. But it's more like life's work. It's more like a calling type of thing versus a career or a job, type of thing. So, oh man, thank you so much. We have some more. Again, we appreciate your questions. We are going to answer them in the chat. I'm going to do a summary of the conversation that we had today. But Mark, tell us, what is a great way for our audience to support or connect with you in what you guys are doing? What's the easiest way or the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at @TheMarkHaney. If you are an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, I have small group sessions here in my office here in the Marquee Media Studio, and we bring in entrepreneurs in small groups. We talk about how great we're going to be. We talk about the challenges and the things that are stressing us out. And it's a good way to bond with other entrepreneurs. And I sometimes will act as a sounding board on your idea. And maybe there's a connection that I can make for you, or some words of wisdom that can be helpful. So hit me up on Instagram or on LinkedIn or Facebook. And if you want to connect up, come on down to my office in Rockland.
Awesome. What about you?
That was it. You can go to growthfactory.us and follow us. Watching some of Mark's podcasts, the Mark Haney Show, is a great source of treasure and knowledge. So there's so much there. And but before we end, I've seen on other episodes, Tim, you getting people feeling the vibe. And so if you can get Mr. Mark Haney to do some dance moves.
Yo, let's do it.
Do we have alcohol? Where's that champagne you're talking about?
We got a whole show. Look,
I'm not a dancer.
That makes it even better. So we are going to
slow dance with my wife. Rick, will you slow dance with me? The only dance that I do is slow dancing with my wife.
So we thank you for bringing that up. So we are going to end today's show. Thank you, everybody. Join us next week for another. There we go. There we go. This has been the late afternoon show with Mark, with Rick, with Tim. Check us out, MrMeaningfulWork.com. If you have any thoughts or anything like that, let's vibe. Hey, let's go. Check us out. All right, everybody, we'll see